So like my estimate of success was not far off. Yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah.
rocket.
Not to nuke anyone, but they had to, as a result of arms reduction talks, they had to actually destroy a bunch of their big nuclear missiles. So I was like, well, how about if we take two of those, minus the nuke, add an additional upper stage for Mars. But it was kind of trippy, being in Moscow in 2001, negotiating with like the Russian military to buy ICBMs. Like that's crazy. I was like, man, these things are getting really expensive. And then I came to realize that actually the problem was not that there was insufficient will to go to Mars, but there was no way to do so without breaking the budget, even breaking the NASA budget. So that's where I decided to start SpaceX to advance rocket technology to the point where we could send people to Mars. And that was in 2002.
So that wasn't, you didn't start out wanting to start a business.
I mean, it is now, but there have been no prior example of really a rocket startup succeeding. There have been various attempts to do commercial rocket companies and they all failed. So again, with SpaceX, starting SpaceX was really from the standpoint of like, I think there's like a less than 10% chance of being successful. If a startup doesn't do something to advance rocket technology, it's definitely not coming from the big defense contractors because they just impedance match to the government, and the government just wants to do very conventional things. So it's either coming from a startup or it's not happening at all. So like a small chance of success is better than no chance of success. And even like when recruiting people, I didn't like try to make out that it would. I said we're probably going to die, but small chance we might not die. But this is the only way to get people to Mars and advance the state of the art. And then I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't hire anyone who was good. So like none of the good sort of chief engineers would join because it was like, this is too risky. You're going to die. And so then I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket. And, the first three flights did fail. So it's a bit of a learning exercise there. And fourth one fortunately worked. But if the fourth one hadn't worked, I had no money left. And it would have been curtains. So it was a pretty close thing. If the fourth launch of Falcon not work, it would have been just curtains, and we would have just joined the graveyard of prior rocket startups. So like my estimate of success was not far off. We made it by the skin of our teeth. Fortunately, the fourth launch worked, and NASA awarded us a contract to resupply the space station. So it was like right before Christmas, because even the fourth launch working wasn't enough to succeed. We also needed a big contract to keep us alive. So I got that call from like the NASA team, and I literally they said we're awarding you one of the contracts to resupply the space station. I like literally blurted out, "I love you guys," which is not normally what they hear.